Right. Well, besides passing tests of general historical reliability, Scripture functions in a more profound ways as the source of evidence for its own truth and the truth of the claims of Christianity. Evidentialists marshal evidences from a number of directions to build a cumulative case for the truth of the Bible. So you might deal with creation, you might deal with historical evidences, you might deal with geographical ones, you might deal with external eyewitness testimony. All these things are building the case for handing the book over and saying, no, actually believe this. Well, these evidences include the miracles of the Bible, the uniqueness of the Bible, the fulfilled prophecy, and later our authors will consider evidentialist approach to the miracles of the Bible. But here they'll highlight the arguments from fulfilled prophecy.
All right. So what is this argument from fulfilled prophecy all about? So they note that Bloom identifies 4 criteria that need to be satisfied in order to conclude that a genuine prophecy has been given. And so, 1, it must be clear, right? We must clearly understand the prophecy must be clear and that sort of thing, not fuzzy and general and that kind of stuff. It must know that it was, we must know rather that it was given before the event. Otherwise, it's not prophecy.
Right.
3, it cannot be fulfilled by the actions of the human person making the prediction, right? So it has to be fulfilled by someone else and not the person who makes the prediction. And then number 4, its content must be unusually specific or long range so as to make the fulfillment remarkable, right? So it must be really specific or happen a lot, quite a ways into the future in order for it to be reliable. And so Bloom then implicitly adds a 5th, namely that the successful prediction, notice, must not be accompanied by a number of false predictions. Right?
The shotgun approach.
That's right. Well, and they use the illustration, thus Gene Dixon might be given credit for the prediction of, for instance, John F. Kennedy's assassination, but for the fact that so many of her other predictions have failed, right? And so anyone making dozens and dozens of unlikely predictions year after year is bound to at least get a few of them right.
Right. Yeah. Well, and, let's turn to Scripture to see if this is a good source. Well, if you have just one wrong prophecy, you were to take that person and stone them for speaking on behalf of God. And
exactly.
From there, the specific deterrent is fulfilled. That person's not going to be making any other false prophecies, but hopefully the general deterrence will go, well, I had one, but I'm not sure if that was just the mutton passing through me tonight, and so I'm going to hold off. I'm going to hold off on that one.
That's right. And you can hold off on the stones.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Throwing the stones.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's a different type of rock concert. Yeah. Well, evidentialists point to 3 clusters of fulfilled prophecies as evidence for the divine interpretation and truth of the Bible. Well, first, there's the Old Testament. It contains numerous prophecies concerning the rise and fall of various nations, cities surrounding Israel, such as Egypt, Tyre, Sidon, Babylon, and Nineveh. And then the second, evidentialists cite the existence of the history of Israel as an amazing fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Robert Newman tells the story of skeptical Frederick the Great, who asked his court chaplain for a good argument for God, to which the chaplain replied, "The Jews, Your Majesty."
Yeah, about that, right.
It seems to be that there are quite a number of people that don't like the certain group of people, and it seems to be the fact that they just keep existing. When's the last time you've met an Egyptian from the time of the Egyptians? Not likely. How about the Ninevites? Well, not really. How about the Hittites? Well, we didn't even know they existed until someone looked in the Bible and went, hey, maybe we can dig up the city, and lo and behold, they find it. Yeah. I mean, when's the last time you've found the Holy Roman Empire? Well, not even post Roman architecture do you have the Germanic people. The barbarians took them over and became the Holy Roman Empire. So we're all pretty much just barbarians, but these people seem to continue through the through line of history, and that seems to be a big key for Frederick the Great's chaplain here.
Right. And then third, evidentialists are especially impressed by the fulfilled prophecies in the life, ministry, death, and resurrection of Jesus. right? The Gospels, especially Matthew, strongly emphasize the idea that Jesus fulfilled Old Testament prophecies. And these then three types of fulfilled prophecies in the Bible add up to an impressive array of evidences that evidentialists believe are unparalleled and should be quite convincing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, in our own church, we're going through Isaiah, and we covered the rise of Cyrus before Cyrus was even attempted to be born. And it's pretty impressive that if you think about, going to Nehemiah and thinking all he's doing is going to Cyrus and going, look, Your Majesty, here you are. And he reads it and goes, all right, well, I'm gonna let you guys go, and there's no payment.
We'll give you money so you can buy the wood.
I mean, it's really impressive, and so what happens is that skeptics have to say, oh, this was written post everything, but there's just a ton of information that lines up with this being pre the time period in question. And so even that little fulfilled prophecy, and we know that this has happened because the rolling scrolls have been found of this being the kind of the mark from his kingdom to let the Hebrews go back to the promised land. And so these types of coincidences happen, and they don't happen in other things like in the Quran and other things. There's claims of miracles in the Quran, but once you look into them, they tend to not be the case. And I'll suggest G.K. Beale has a great book on the use of Old Testament scripture from the New Testament to bolster kind of this evidentialist point from the Gospels and the fulfilled prophecy, and that type of looking back to the Old Testament provides a historical and a theological kind of red carpet for Jesus to come onto the scene and fulfill a lot of these prophecies. So if you're kind of looking for a source, there's all sorts of prophecies book out there, but I think G.K. Beale's books about the New Testament use of the Old Testament is an underlooked book in dealing with fulfilled prophecy in that context. Yeah, well, these three types of prophecies then in the Bible add up to an impressive array of evidences that evidentialists believe are unparalleled and should be quite convincing.